Frank's Red Hot is the perfect blend of flavor and heat, so you can use an entire bottle to make recipes like buffalo chicken dip or buffalo nachos, or even things that don't start with buffalo. Frank's Red Hot, I put that on everything.
Let's go.
Hey, Craig, I recorded that.
Oh, excellent.
Oh, dude, we have, 85 episodes in, and we finally made it. We made it to a week when there literally ain't shit happening.
I have nothing to inspire a song or anything. Like, it's, oh my God.
You know what? I know we've talked about this on the show before, but for people who are, relatively new to the show or at the very least weren't around at about this time last year, we kept waiting for when we were going to run out of stuff to talk about. And we had, a list of stuff just topics.
Where'd that list go?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. I may try to find that during this episode because we really don't have anything to talk about.
Actually, I think it's on Google. I might look.
It might be. So, yeah. So anyway, we were stressing a year ago when the show was pretty new. We were stressing man, we're going to get to that point where there's just nothing to talk about and there's nothing to do. And man, I don't know what we're going to, and it never actually happened. And so we sort of marveled at the fact that it never really happened. That if you just keep plugging away, there's always interesting stuff to talk about. And Craig, we have officially reached the point when there is nothing to talk about. I mean,
last year we had two, a basketball coach, baseball coach.
Yeah. And I did the link post, the Hot Cougar Action post this morning, and did a little back to Omaha update, but we've already talked.
We've covered that front and back. Yeah.
Let's see. There's recruiting stuff happening, but we've sort of covered. I guess we can talk for 2 minutes about how we got a commit from a punter.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, you don't want to talk about how we got a commit from a punter?
Well, hold on before we do that. This is Podcast versus Everyone. I'm Craig Powers. Not sitting with me. Only a couple times.
I am sitting.
Is Jeff Newser.
That's me.
I have pulled up our Podcast versus Everyone summer topic idea brainstorming.
Oh, you have it. Okay, so send it. Hold on, send me the link so that I can open it.
I'll drop it to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we may have to do a little spin the wheel on some of this shit.
Oh yeah, there's some good stuff in here. We've done, I think, a couple of the things.
This was all you, too, wasn't it, by the way?
I think you added a couple of things.
Of these ideas. I don't know.
I think you added a couple of things. I don't know.
Yeah. Everyone in 60s on here. We did figure that out.
And then on-site brewery beer bar episodes, flat stick locations. We did that. Yeah.
We did that twice. That was great.
Did we do it on? Oh, yeah, we did it on-site at Single Hill.
At Single Hill. Yeah. Hell yeah.
Cougon places. Love it.
My local tap room had some kegs of Single Hill just sitting there waiting to be tapped this week, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, those Yakima Valley breweries have been sending more of their beer over here because although people in Yakima, if you talk to my dad who lives there, bunch of idiots, he says, because they've been not following the stay-at-home stuff very well, and that's why you see Yakima is.
Are you saying rural Washington is?
Well,
not
I mean,
all
Yakima's
about the social distancing.
Yakima's not particularly rural. It's not that rural. There are rural areas of Yakima, but Yakima County population is similar to Thurston County, and Thurston County is going into phase 2, but Yakima County has not done phase 2 yet. But we are going to Yakima this weekend. Finally cracked. Got to go visit the Bees' grandparents. So
that's a good deal.
3 months was enough, I guess. So they've it's just been a long time, but
I will tell you, this has been super hard on my parents and Sarah's parents, and how they've had a hard, not being able to either see the kids or even they've seen them a few times, but our kids pretty regularly go stay with their grandparents.
Right.
This is when I say pretty regularly, I'm talking usually 1 weekend a month, pretty minimum. And sometimes it's 2 or 3 weekends in a row where they'll just go stay with grandparents, and not because we're like, get our kids out of here, but because, they're like, yeah, kids want to come up. We're like, sure, whatever, have a ball. And, I think it's pretty healthy for us in our marriage too,
Absolutely.
to get a little time without children where we can go and be together. But it's been really hard on the grandparents, like not being able to have them over for extended periods, not being able to hug them. Like, we're getting to the point now where we're like, okay, how can we do the hugging? Okay, so let's get some masks. And part of it is also like we've got a couple of grandparents that work in sort of high risk areas, so that's kind of the other piece is, we do have like one grandparent who is retired and is at home, so that's no big deal. The other grandparents are kind of in and out of shaky situations, especially one of them, and so that makes it a lot tougher. And so we worked out with her, like, hey, okay, well, let's do a mask, and and then we can we'll wash, everybody will wash their hands, and then we'll do some hugs, and everybody wins. So yeah,
we
stuff.
had my mom came over tonight with she's been living with my sister because she moved back from California 3 months ago, and almost 3 months ago, me and my sister went and picked her up and brought her back, and she hasn't seen B the whole time, and she hadn't seen B since Christmas before that. So it's been, she hadn't seen B for like 5 months or almost 6 months, and so she finally got to see her tonight, and she was just like over the moon, and B was so excited. And so now we're gonna go see the other grandparents and my dad and stuff, and it's just like, because we live so far away, it's kind of rough, being able to see people. Obviously, my mom and my sister live 20 minutes away, but we have not seen, because my mom is in some ways a little immunocompromised. She's had some strange diseases that you can only get in Central California. But my it's kind of funny. I was talking to my sister, and I told her yesterday, I was like, hey, we're just to let you know, we're going over to Yakima, and she's like, oh, well, when do you think it's going to be okay for mom to come visit? Well, I'm like, I was like, well, we were waiting for you guys to say that, like when mom felt comfortable, right? Because obviously Amanda works in a hospital, but but she works in Olympia, and frankly, there have not been that many cases in Olympia. She has not come in contact with anyone that has it. So we've just kind of, and now Olympia Thurston is moving to phase 2. We're kind of feeling a little bit more comfortable. Obviously, you feel uncomfortable with every contact with you. It's funny, when they were coming over, we knew they were coming over, and we were talking like, I don't even know. Like, I should be excited. I haven't seen my mom since the night we drove her back from California, and I dropped her off at my sister's house. I haven't seen my sister since then either. I haven't seen my little niece since then. Like, she's like 10 months now, and I haven't seen her since she was like 7 months. So it's like a crazy amount of development. Like, she's a totally different little thing now.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, I should be
excited. She's right in that time when like every couple of days they're doing something new.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm like, I should be excited, but I was just like, it feels weird. I'm just kind of like, feels strange about this, because we haven't had people over, the only person we had over in the last 3 months was the a notary that came to finalize it so we could sign the final papers on closing on our refinance, taking advantage of the one good thing in the COVID was the low interest rates. And so that's that was weird, having someone over. Like, B was just like freaking out, and I kept her away, obviously. Like, we kept her away as much as we could, but she was just like, why is someone here? But she was so excited when my mom and sister and her cousin showed up today, and it was so we just we sit in the sit around outside, sit around in the living room, kind of separated, but being able to hang out together and stuff, it's nice, but whatever. This is the kind of stuff you talk about when you don't have anything to talk about. Welcome to Podcast versus Everyone. This is a
Welcome
kook
to the
podcast.
Show. Yeah. I mean, it could be worse. We could talk about how a German soccer team ruined our day earlier this week.
Oh man, I will say there is a point. For that game, they had been piping in sound, but not really that. Like it was mostly just kind of like noise, like general noise. Like it was kind of this like buzzing sound. But they literally piped in like a recording of fans cheering for that entire thing. And like, what did you think of that?
I really liked it. A lot of, I listened to a fair number of podcasts. I've been listening to a number of podcasts on the Bundesliga to try and kind of catch up and understand it and kind of know what's going on with the different teams. And there's one particular guy, couple guys who are like, "Oh, don't do that. Don't, no artificial sound. It'll be terrible. You're not fooling anybody." It's like, the point isn't to fool anybody. The point is to make it seem at least a little more normal.
Yeah.
And apparently, so what I heard was that the sound that we heard on the broadcast was actually just on the broadcast. It was not in the stadium.
Oh, interesting.
So, which I thought was, whatever they did, they made it sound like it was coming from in the stadium. I don't know.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of what that's how it sounded to me, was that it sounded like it was coming from inside the stadium. So kudos to them, and it was pretty natural. They did a good job, like,
and
doing
soccer
the whistles.
Soccer is kind of a good one because like the fans are kind of chanting throughout. Like, so it's not as much as not quite.
It's
as
not like you're just
reactionary.
hitting a button when something good or bad happens. So they did a pretty good job, like transitioning from good to bad things. When something seemed a little questionable, they had a little button that had the whistles, which of course we don't really do that over here, but it's a very common thing in European soccer to
very
whistle
confusing.
over a disagreeable call.
It's very confusing. I don't know if when I've watched European soccer, like it throws me off so much. Like,
yeah, they don't boo, they whistle.
They whistle, and then like they whistle really well. Like it sounds like a ref whistle, and you're like,
Yeah, they probably raised their kids to be able to whistle at referees.
Have you noticed they implement that in FIFA too? Like, like it's in FIFA, and I swear I'll have a defender on someone, and then I'll hesitate because I hear that whistle. I haven't gotten used to it. Like,
yeah. So yeah, but it was that was interesting. I'm not sure. You mentioned, I think, the key element, which is that with soccer, the sound is just pretty continuous,
right? Especially in a stadium that like Dortmund has, like it's very raucous.
So there are songs, there are chants, there are cheers. It's pretty, and then soccer itself being a continuous sport, right, lends itself to that. Football obviously is not. So I assume that's kind of where you were going, was thinking about this fall and if there are no fans in the stands and how that works or what that looks like or what it sounds like is probably a better way to put it. And I'm not sure. I mean, I guess you could just have a baseline level of like
the buzz,
noise,
like a buzz sort of thing.
And then I don't know, when something good happens, like you push a button and people cheer. I mean, I don't know. Like it's
like a laugh track for like on a 90s comedy.
But I will say, I mean, after having gone through it, it wasn't. I thought it would be okay from the beginning. Like even when they weren't doing it, I was like, this would actually, I think, work okay. And then they did it, and I was like, yeah, that was about what I thought. Like it's we talked about last week how it's just kind of creepy when all you hear is like the thumping of the ball. And guys yelling at each other. And,
especially there was another match the first week it was back that played after the Dortmund match, and they didn't play any sound at all in the stadium. And they didn't play any sound anywhere, and it was very weird. But the one bummer of them playing, and I think part of why they did it too, because it was like kind of a rivalry match, is you could not hear the swearing between the players as much, which was fun when Schalke and Dortmund played, or Schalke, however you say it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Close enough. Whatever.
I don't speak German.
They don't deserve your respect of pronouncing their name correctly.
Oh, I wanted to say there's another part. So you play FIFA yearly. I buy FIFA every year or two. Whatever. There's Pro Evolution Soccer as well as obviously a competitor.
Yeah.
And they're always trying to, there's people that say the soccer's better or whatever, which they could be. Like EA makes a lot of shitty sports games, so it very well could be a better experience soccer wise. But I'm not that intelligent enough to know. But they've been kind of so what's happened between the fight between these two is they've been getting like partnerships from different clubs, and so like Juventus, the famous Italian club, one of the most famous clubs in the world that Cristiano Ronaldo plays for, is not in FIFA. They are called, although Cristiano Ronaldo and all the players are in FIFA, but the team is not in FIFA because they have an exclusive deal with Pro Evolution Soccer. I noticed that even though Schalke is in FIFA, obviously, because FIFA has an agreement with the Bundesliga, but they have a partnership with Pro Evolution Soccer, so we definitely cannot buy Pro Evolution Soccer because Schalke has a partnership with them, so it's tainted, it's awful, it's terrible. So don't even consider it, man.
Okay, I will not consider it then.
A proper Dortmund fan would never consider it.
That's right. That's me, lifelong Dortmund fan.
I think the Huskies have a partnership with them as well, actually. So, speaking of that, comeback story of the day. WSU was Cougar Gold Cheese today was pitted against. I'm scrolling through against some nonsense, from the UW
cherry
campus.
Blossoms.
The cherry
Cherry
blossoms.
blossoms.
Yeah,
which
congrats.
I will allow, they are pretty beautiful.
Yeah, well, whatever, man. Who
But
cares?
they're
No,
not
they're terrible.
Cougar Gold.
Well, yeah, and they're not Cougar Gold.
You can't
which is,
eat them.
So, obviously, you run a Twitter poll. It runs for 24 hours, whatever.
Right.
So the Pac-12 network has been running these posts. Not that popular, honestly. 564 total votes by the end, which is why I think the Cougs were able to, who were trailing with 2 hours left, were able to win comfortably, 56% to 44%.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go ahead and pat ourselves on the back, Jeff, because all us Coug Center folk tweeted.
We amplified it.
We amplified it. Bam. We got us over the top. Congrats to us. Great job, us. We are very important influencers in the Cougar sphere. Also, just happy to see Cougar Gold Cheese now going up against Shout at Autzen, which is the lamest thing I've ever heard.
What even is that?
Like, I'm guessing they sing Shout.
Oh.
Like the song?
Oh, you know what? That kind of makes some sense, though, because I know that Animal House was filmed on their campus.
Oh.
So that's
okay.
my guess. I'm guessing that's...
Well,
I'm
that's
just
fine.
guessing that's the connection that they do.
That's fine, I guess.
As an ode to... or as homage to Animal House.
I haven't been to a game in Eugene.
Yeah, fun fact, Animal House was based off of a chapter of my fraternity at some college on the East Coast. So,
all right.
We wore that as a badge of pride
during
initiation, let me tell you that.
Yeah, I'm sure you did.
Yeah, well, let me tell you.
But, okay, so watch out, Coug fans, for that next poll. So we can
Tomorrow,
beat out. I was sad. Shout out Autzen beat out Gary Payton's trash talk, which I wanted.
That's so terrible.
Yeah, I assume it's going to be tomorrow. I don't know.
Oregon State fans are really falling down on the job.
Seriously, what? I mean, it would have been kind of hard for me to vote Gary Payton's trash talk against Cougar Gold, both like titans in their respective industries.
I know. You can't even do that. By the way, if you hear that, my child is...
I don't know. You could have heard.
He roared into the microphone. He tried to scare me. And it didn't really work. But
I was blathering about. So I don't know.
No, I mean, Gary Payton's trash talk. Like I just watched episode 8 of The Last Dance. And
yes.
God damn it.
That one's the one that turned me to be like, fuck this. Like, it's too much.
Michael Jordan laughing at Gary Payton.
Oh, that was the one where, like, yeah, it's fine. It's one-sided. We get it. And then of course that episode was like, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, look up his numbers when Payton was guarding him.
Absolutely. Like, Gary Payton was a monster. As I said on Slack for any Sonics fans out there, that series was 100% decided by Ron Harper and Nate McMillan. Like, that series did not come down to Michael Jordan and Gary Payton. It was two hobbling point guards
6 men
who both had injuries, and both of them were sort of the difference makers, the X factors for their team. And when they played, their teams played really well, and when they didn't play, their teams didn't play that well. And yeah, it's, I don't know, man. As a Sonics fan, like whenever I see that stuff, I'm both like, it both makes me smile and makes me pissed, and I get depressed all over again. And I'll never quite get over losing the Sonics, man. It's one of the, not to get like super dramatic, but I'm going to anyway, because I'm just not being hyperbolic when I say it still is one of the saddest things in my life.
Yeah, no, 100% agree.
Like if someone took, I mean, really, it would be like if someone took the Cougs away from me. It was, the Sonics were my first love.
Yep.
As a sports team. I
Same.
mean, I was, growing, basically coming of age as a sports fan during the time when they were awesome under George Karl, and I still remember them losing to the Nuggets and how that crushed me, and then the joy of '96, and and some of the other stuff. I mean, they were consistently good for quite a while, pretty much for a decade, and
they had some of the couple of the more dynamic players in the league.
Yeah, and they played a really exciting, fun brand of basketball.
Yeah, trapping defense.
Yeah, they trapped on defense. They forced turnovers. They shot threes. I was talking about this with Kyle Sherwood the other day on Slack. We were DMing back and forth a little bit, and the Sonics were really ahead of their time in terms of the number of threes that they shot. They shot way more. They were like third or fourth in the league, I think, in 3-point attempts in '96, and we're kind of ahead of the curve on that. Weren't really ahead of the curve defensively on that. They allowed a lot of threes also, but it just was, they just were fun, man. They played at a high tempo. They they had dudes who could fly, like obviously like Sean Kemp and.
Quite
Gary
literally.
Payton. Yeah, I mean, quite literally. And so I've kind of gone into the YouTube rabbit hole to find whatever games I can find of those old Sonics teams, and
yeah, basically like 87 through 97.
And anything, when I find games at Key Arena, and there's a fair number of them. When I find games at Key Arena and they do, and this is the thing that gets me, which is, I don't know, like, so when you go to a Cougar game, like, I imagine there's a little bit of you, like, the very first time Glenn Johnson goes, and that's another, and you go, Cougar, first down, you're like, oh my God, this is so great, I'm back at Martin Stadium, right? Because it's a Martin Stadium thing, right?
Yep.
When I watch these games at Key Arena, it's kind of the same deal. When Gary Payton streaks by someone for a layup, they go, Gary Payton, and then there's, like, the road runner and, like, the squealing tires, and it's just like, or, Sean Kemp goes in for a dunk and they do the thunder, for the Rain Man. And it's just all that stuff. And it just takes me back to that time. And, I went to a lot of Sonics games back in the day. And, it just, it reminds me of what they were and how much I miss having the NBA around. And
yeah, man. And it's kind of like, it's like this, it kind of makes it worse that Calabro works for the Blazers. Because, like,
yeah, no kidding.
Like, I know he relished that Dame Lillard 3 to beat the Thunder, but, like, it was still, it's like he's ours, man. Like, come on. Like,
yep. But I also don't blame him for
doing
that. I mean, he
like,
wasn't,
dude.
All the other stuff he did, frankly, I love him to death, but frankly, he was made for the NBA.
Oh,
and
yeah.
The other stuff he tried to do was not as good as his work in the NBA. I mean, he tried doing, let's see, he had a talk radio show in Seattle. He was the play-by-play guy for the Sounders their first season, which a lot of people don't remember.
Yeah, I've heard some of those.
Yeah. And I mean, and it wasn't for lack of trying. I mean, he gave it, he's a pro. Like, he gave it a good effort. And then, he did some Pac-12 network stuff, doing football and basketball for that, and not great. And, so he kind of he didn't really take any time off. I mean, he was doing like NBA on ESPN radio stuff, I think, is what he was doing in the meantime. But then eventually, the Blazers convinced him to come down once it became clear that the Sonics were not coming back
soon. Yeah.
And yeah, so I mean, he gets to do that, and I catch him every once in a while on NBCSN or NBC Northwest, Sports Northwest, or whatever it's called, with the Blazers broadcasts. And honestly, the worst part about it is Lamar Hurd is his partner, and he's iffy.
We get him on Coug broadcasts.
We used to get him on Coug broadcasts
whenever they played in Oregon State.
Yeah, so it's a little like, really, that's Portland. That's the best you could do. But
did he play for the Blazers?
No.
What?
Oregon State. Went to Oregon State.
They couldn't find anyone else.
I think he did like some like Blazers pregame, halftime, postgame stuff on the network, and
there couldn't have been a better duo in the NBA than Calabro and Marcus Johnson. Honestly,
I think you misspoke. I think you mean a better duo in the history of basketball broadcasting. Is what I think you meant to say.
That was amazing.
It was so fantastic.
Marcus Johnson's like deep tones and just like cool guy. Everything, he was just cool.
Yep. And the way they would play off of each other.
Oh, they were so good.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Go Cougs.
God damn it, Craig.
Oh, there's my dogs. That means probably my sister and mom and niece are leaving.
Son of a bitch.
But
goddamn David Stern.
Yeah, that son of a bitch. We could do a podcast series on that.
We could.
Like many have done.
Yeah.
But yeah, Cougs. I don't know. Fuck, I don't know. I got nothing to talk about. We signed an Australian punter.
Yay!
So,
punter. Woo! He's Australian. Utah's had a lot of success with that, right?
I think
the
from
Seahawks
the same,
have an Australian punter
from the same academy or whatever. Like it's, yeah. I hope he never gets to play.
Yeah, me too.
I hope they never use him.
Yeah, I mean it's like I don't know. Did you hear like they got a commit from a punter and went why?
Yeah,
like that was my first reaction.
Like we're giving a scholarship to a punter. Okay.
Like, I don't care how good he is. Truly. And I mean that sincerely. Like, I do not care how good he is.
Unless he
don't want a punter on scholarship.
If he's 6'2", 330 and can play nose tackle, then and also punt, then I'm totally down for that.
I mean, it's like simple math. Like recruiting is probabilities, right? Like we had conversations about probabilities today. Like it's you're trying to like get as many bites at the apple as you can, like throw as many darts at the dartboard as you can. Like it's that some of the recruits aren't going to work out, so you're trying to give yourself the best chance possible to succeed. And one of the things that maybe isn't the best use of a scholarship or what we would call an initial scholarship, right, which is when someone signs, is giving it to a kicker. Like that's to a specialist. Like that's just I'm not saying it's a waste of a scholarship, but like college sports is littered with kickers who sign and suck when they show up. Not saying this guy's going to suck. He might be awesome. He might be the best punter we've ever seen.
Gave a scholarship to a kicker a few years. I swear Leach did once, and I don't think the guy ever saw the field.
Leach, I think, tried to.
Oh, tried to. And then he flipped to UW.
He flipped, and then guess what? Guess what he did at UW? He sucked.
He sucked. That's right.
He sucked. Like, I mean, I think we all like not to rip on the guy, but I think we all have visions of Lauren Langley in our head, right? Like, I mean, it's just there are so many examples of kickers who show up and are not good, And, typically what you do is what Leach did. Leach did the last handful of years, which is, you send out Eric Mealy and you say, okay, go find a bunch of walk-ons and let them show up and kick. And if they prove that they don't suck, then maybe we'll consider giving one of them a scholarship. So Dragicevic is on scholarship right now, which was only after he had an awesome year. And you're like, okay, this guy can kick, right? Like, kickers, we've got a history of kickers, doing that too. Although I think Mazza went on scholarship immediately when he transferred. I'm not positive about that, but I think that's the case. But again, that's a guy who had sort of proven, to some degree that he could do it. So anyway, it's not the greatest strategy to be handing out initial scholarships to kickers, because you only get 25 of them a year, and you got to restock the talent, and you can always give a scholarship to a kicker later, and there are a lot of them around. So,
I mean, if this guy is Reed Forrest, then fine.
I mean, let's be real.
If he can average 15 yards a carry and, be the best offensive player you have, then yeah, give him a scholarship. Yeah.
But, whatever. I mean, I probably wouldn't think it was as big of a deal if I wasn't looking at the rest of the class and worrying like crazy.
Yeah, which we've covered.
I mean, Leach signed a long snapper a couple of years ago, for goodness sake. So I'm not. I mean, that's like crazy pants. But and again,
these are players that we never want to
power
see
to
the
kid.
field. We want to score touchdowns every time.
I'm happy for the kid who got a scholarship. This is not a personal assessment. It's just a what's a good allocation of resources. Yeah, and maybe not giving an initial scholarship to a specialist is a good idea, but whatever, whatever. Man.
I don't know if y'all noticed that Jeff and I are interrupting each other more.
we tend to do that when we've had a couple.
Yep. Well, I was drinking some beers with my sister, and
I was grilling burgers.
There you go.
It's a good night.
We just ordered some pizza. It was a great night, but
we don't have good pizza out here in rural Pierce County.
Well, Tacoma, even the whole entire city, there isn't many good places. My favorite place that I've zeroed in on is Half Pint. There's also a pretty good place that's Coug-owned, which the name is slipping me, that we went while Half Pint was closed. Shit. God damn it. They're great. They have like Coug memorabilia up, and someone's yelling at me right now. They have a dog.
Who's yelling at you?
They have a dog at the. No, just any Coug that lives in Tacoma is yelling at me right now. They have a dog as their logo. Sammy's Pizza. There we go. They have a couple locations, but yeah, they make some pretty good pizza too. But Half Pint's a little cheaper and pretty similar quality, so we go there. But I have heard that Sammy's is a great place to watch Cougar games, and I'll be in there. They have Cougar memorabilia everywhere, both locations. I've heard they play all the games, so
maybe they should sponsor the show, and then we'll come record a show from there.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That's what we should do.
Yeah.
Get on that.
You're just trying to get free shit, Jeff. Come on.
Psst. Isn't that what this is all about?
That's why we do what we do.
SB Nation is paying us so much money to do this.
A penny for your thoughts, Jeff. A penny for your thoughts.
Yeah, literally a penny for my thoughts.
Oh man. Anyway. We're going to get an email in the morning.
Yeah, right. Nobody listens to us.
Nobody listens to us.
At least nobody from SB Nation does.
Hey,
they got bigger fish to fry right now.
We'll joke about the compensation because it is a bit of a joke. But the one thing the SB Nation has never done for us, at least, I don't know if other team sites, they've never told us what to do. We've never, ever, ever been told what to do.
Well, that's that's sort of the beauty of working for SB Nation, right? Is like, it's like the pay is crap, but at the same time we get to do pretty much whatever the hell we want. So it's a pretty.
And we have fun.
And we have fun.
So I think we can take a break so SB Nation can pay the bills. And then we'll come back, maybe talk about beer, talk about maybe Marvin Cannon.
Sure.
Even though we've talked about him
Sure.
quite a bit already.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's go to break.
And we're back.
Back.
You know what that is?
No.
It's the sound of a cannon. Did it sound like one?
Okay, man. No.
No? Yes?
No.
Maybe?
No.
A little?
No.
Come on, a little.
Sure.
All right. Marvin Cannon's transferring in the least surprising news of the year.
Yeah. This was obviously he tried to leave last year. And then
my sense isn't that he tried to leave. He just kind of
thought maybe I should.
was thinking like I'm going to, and then
there was
some
some there was some thought that he wanted to go closer to home because he's from the East Coast. But.
Right. Yeah, that was the thing floating around at the time, was that because he's from Virginia, so Virginia, right? I'm not speaking out of my ass on that. So that's pretty far away from Pullman.
Richmond, Virginia.
There we go. Pretty far from Pullman, and he had some other, whatever, like just uncertainty of a coaching change and et cetera, and decided to come back, and didn't have the greatest individual year, so which
it's funny. He just looked kind of out of sync, particularly offensively, the whole year. He shot really well from outside. His first season in Pullman was not good.
Like
from
surprisingly
3.
well.
Yeah, he does not have a good looking stroke. But I mean, both of you and I were happy that he came back, because he just seems like the kind of toolsy guy that would have fit really well with Kyle Smith, because he's long, he plays he plays D. I mean, he can jump, like he can offensive rebound, he can shoot threes, so he's got a lot of tools. But and all, obviously we're advanced stat nerds, and his like offensive rating looks okay. It's 107.4 or whatever. But honestly, at his low usage rate, it's not that exciting. Good teams have guys at a 14% usage rate have like 120 offensive ratings, because all they do is hit open threes, or all they do is hit open layups or free throws or whatever. Yeah, they dunk or whatever. You're looking like a guy like Pollard, who had a 15% offensive rating or 15% usage and had a 118 offensive rating. That's what you're expecting out of those kind of those
If you've got a low,
limited contributors.
If you've got a low usage and your efficiency sucks, that's a real problem.
Which I'll say, Marvin's did not suck. It just wasn't.
It just wasn't like sky high.
It's not like a guy like you look at like Kuntz. Kuntz was because he really was very limited. Like Marvin, at least because he attacks the offensive glass, would draw some fouls, get to the free throw line, whatever. But he really showed an inability to. Which we knew he was an inability to kind of create any shot for himself.
Yeah. I mean, Jeff Pollard's a really good example of what you're hoping for with low usage guys. Like his efficiency was 118, which translates into roughly 1.18 points per possession used for him, which again is really efficient. And he didn't take many shots. Didn't use many possessions. That's really what you're hoping for. Like when you go back to like the old Tony Bennett teams, you start looking down the roster and you see guys like Caleb Forrest, right? Like I know you and I talked about Caleb Forrest the other day.
The miracle of Caleb Forrest.
Yeah, David Harmeling when he still remembered how to shoot. Those kinds of guys. Low
Robbie
usage,
Cowgill even.
Robbie Cowgill's a great example. Yeah, low usage, high efficiency guys. You definitely need those guys on your roster. Jeff Pollard's what you're shooting for. Well, Jeff Pollard's kind of the only guy that we had in that range. Yeah. But Cannon was pretty good too. In
Yeah,
that sense,
he was pretty good.
107's not terrible. Like,
It was is entirely much like his season last year. Is built quite a bit on free throw rate,
right?
Which is good,
which is okay. But when you watched him on the floor, it was pretty clear, what his limitations are and why he was always maybe going to struggle to be a consistent scorer. He's just not. He's not even really an adequate ball handler.
Nope.
And as far as the shooting goes, I know that like 2 years ago, you and I sort of marveled at the fact that his 3-point percentage was reasonably high and that his free throw percentage was really, really, really high. I think both you and I had a feeling that was that there was some randomness involved in maybe it being higher than what his true talent level was, just in terms of watching the stroke. Yeah. And not that that's always a reliable indicator. I know another thing I was marveling at recently was Sean Marion's old shooting stroke.
Or even Reggie Miller, man.
Yeah. So that's not always the greatest measure, but I know with Kenan, it just always looked very like...
there's a hitch. There's a hitch,
there's a hitch, and it's just not real fluid, and you just feel like, and so when it started to drop off toward the end of his sophomore year... Yeah, because that definitely
because he was shooting like 50% from three at one point,
and like 98% from the free throw line.
Yeah.
Like it was like what, and then it started to drop off a little bit, and you're like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, because you look at the conference only stats are quite a lot lower. Yeah,
and so then last year, similar kind of deal, but had even maybe a little bit more difficult time shooting. I mean, he only shot 23% from three, which is I think probably worse than his true talent level, but also, again, the randomness kicking in on that just a little bit, sequencing, whatever.
When I definitely think without, a true score, like without like they had Ellaby and shit, I've had too much to drink. They had Ellaby and they had Robert Franks, and so like.
Oh, you're talking about 2 years ago,
yeah. 2 years ago, he was getting. It was a lot of corner. I mean, and a corner is not as big a deal in college basketball because it's the same distance all the way around.
Easier shot.
In college, in NBA, it's shorter. The corner three is like a foot shorter than the top three.
And by the way, he only shot 33%. On 54 threes.
Well, that's what we're saying. He was at 50%, and then
it wasn't good.
And he only it was he started in non-conference play, or he was 8 of 19. So he was hitting almost 40% and then conference play 10 of 35. So it's like he definitely went downhill. And the thing, I think he probably took some tougher looks, but he actually part of this was the free throws, part of this was I just don't think he had the same freedom to roam about in Kyle Smith's offense that he did in Ernie Kent's kind of like roll him out and let him go type approach.
And in Ernie's offense, he was surrounded by dudes who could shoot.
Yeah.
And so he was free to just sort of slash to the basket, dive to the basket. Those are things that he was able to do. And Kyle Smith, talks about how he wants 6-tool guys and he wants them to be able to shoot and dribble and pass and all these other things. And you kind of sit there and go, well, isn't that what every coach is looking for? They want doesn't every coach want guys who can do all those things?
And apparently they don't.
Yeah, but when you watched the team this year, it became more clear what he was actually talking about. Like he quite literally needs guys who can do multiple things. And if you have things that you can't do very well, that's actually a problem. Yeah. And that's, I think, what we saw with Marvin Cannon was, it's a guy who can't really dribble, a guy who can't really pass, really at all. And those two things really made him. I mean, he just looked lost on offense most of the time because he couldn't really do either of those things. And so, for his sake, I really hope he ends up at a program that plays to his strengths. And to me, that's a program that maybe presses on defense,
Oh, yeah.
and then also on offense wants to get out and run as much as possible, and just allows him to maybe move away from the ball, cut to the basket, those kinds of things, where he can really just kind of use his athleticism, because his athleticism is great, and that was the part that was always tantalizing.
Yeah, and he's got long arms, 6'5". He plays a lot bigger than 6'5".
Yep.
He's very slender, but he does play a lot longer than his height, and because he can jump like with the best of them. And I think he could crush it in a mid-major league.
Yeah.
With the right team, which is probably where he'll end up, I'm sure. I think he'll go. I wouldn't be surprised if he went and had a great season, and Kook fans will go, "Oh, I wish we had him." And it's like, well, sometimes these guys just don't fit, you know?
Yeah.
Because actually, his usage, we were talking about his low. He had pretty low usage the season before at 18%, but to drop 4%, so he was even less, like quite a bit less of a factor on offense than he was the season before, because he really just wasn't finding the shots. Like, and obviously Smith's philosophy was not to have him crash the offensive glass as much. Even though let me fact check myself right there. He actually had a higher offensive rebounding percentage this season, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe he wasn't getting as many. Like his free throw rate dipped a little bit. That probably had a little bit to do with it. But he also there was a lot of times he was on the floor offensively, and he would just disappear and not really be a factor in any way. And obviously he was in and out of injuries too. Hopefully next season he can stay healthy. He can find a place that he fits, and I think he's got lots of tools that can make him good. It just didn't work this year, and that happens. And it's nothing against Kyle Smith, nothing against Marvin Cannon, but I hope he can have a great senior year and have a good time, and hopefully win some games, score some points, dunk on some fools, because that's what he's very good at. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I like the kid. I know you and I were excited when he came back.
Yeah,
and it just
for
didn't,
sure.
it just didn't work out. It happens, life.
Sometimes it's like that. He really did his best work. I mean, we kind of referenced this earlier, but he did his best work in non-conference. His conference-only stats the last couple of years were not great. But so like his conference-only efficiency last year was 94. His overall efficiency, though, was 107. So that should tell you kind of what he did in those minutes during non-conference.
Yeah,
right?
and a lot of that was Old Dominion, or I can't remember which in the tournament he had in the preseason tournament he had a really good
but same
game.
thing the year before. Like he overall offensive efficiency of 108, conference only of 98. So again, did really well against the lesser competition, struggled more against high major competition. So I mean, hopefully if he ends up in the right kind of spot, I mean, like you could see him land at a place, I don't know, like Florida Gulf Coast, right? Like, go do Lob City. And,
are they still doing that?
I don't think they are, but you know what I mean? Like that sort of a style.
That'd be cool if they were. That like some infield assistant is still there.
It would actually be cool.
Actually, I'm gonna pull them up, see what they're like.
So yeah, I mean, someplace like that, I'm sure he could succeed and do some things. And
oh man,
so
Florida Gulf Coast sucks now. That's sad.
Never mind. Just
and
kidding.
they play
Don't go
so
there.
slow, dude. Their tempo is so slow.
All right, so that's what we really need to look at. We need to look at like who's got like high tempo. Like,
all right, what year was infield there? Was that like 13?
Marshall.
Yeah.
Send him to Marshall. Oh, you can go play for D'Antoni at Marshall. That'd be great.
Wait, D'Antoni's at Marshall. That's right.
Yeah, D'Antoni. They're like high tempo, lots of twos. They don't shoot a ton of threes.
Man, rest in
force
peace.
Lots of turnovers on defense. That's where he should go.
Rest in peace, March Madness. Fucking Florida Gulf Coast was the shit.
Yes,
that was one of the best things of all time.
That was super fun.
I have an FGCU shirt.
Do you really?
I do.
That's
I
awesome.
had to buy one due to it. Well, I was for college Basketball Prospectus and ESPN those years. I was covering the Atlantic Sun, so like I knew a lot about that team, and it's funny what I wrote in my preview the year that they went to the Sweet 16 was that they were 1 year from being amazing. Like next year they're going to be amazing. Like they're going to be a really good team, and they just like beat me. You know, I was a year off. Like they were just really good that season. And truthfully, they were pretty good, and then they just like upset some people, and like, and then just in a really like the thing about Florida Gulf Coast is they did it in this fashion that low majors never ever do. Like it's always like, you know, holding on to the ball and hitting a bunch of threes, but they're like, no, screw you, we're gonna do lobs and dunks, and that was a blast, man. And that now it's making me miss the tournament again.
God damn it.
Man.
Like everything we're talking about tonight is making us sad and making us miss things. Like,
I know. God dang. Was it really just the 1 year that Andy Enfield took him to the tournament, and then the next year, and then he went
he
to
was
USC.
like, I'm out of here, dude. Every good college coach knows like when it's time to go. That includes Tony Bennett.
And I will say, like he's made USC better. Like it probably not achieved what USC you could probably achieve at USC, honestly. But but really hardly anyone has. So I don't know.
Historically, they haven't been great though. That's always
been.
They are right up there with like. So we talk about how Arizona State football is like this sleeping giant, right?
Yeah,
a sleeping giant. Someone's going to awaken the sleeping giant. It's like, you know what? After all these years, like, don't you think someone would have woken it up by now?
Yeah.
Like, if it really is a sleeping giant, don't you think someone would have done that at this point?
Yeah.
And if they haven't, why not?
They would have went to Enfield's third tournament this year.
Yes, they would have. They would have.
And they probably would have been like a 8 or 9 seed, I think, probably. So he's had an 18, 11 seed, the best seed.
Good Lord, he's been there 7 damn years.
It's I don't know, dude. We're old.
We're so fucking old. Oh my God.
He's still Dunk City to me, man.
I was watching that 2003 Fiesta Bowl tonight that was on ESPN, replayed on ESPN when Maurice Claret was a freshman and all that stuff. And I'm like watching.
Oh, the pass interference at the end of it.
Yeah, that doesn't seem like that long ago. And I'm like, oh my God, like Willis McGahee's the running back at Miami, and Andre Johnson's the wide receiver at Miami.
I remember
oh my God, these guys are all like have been in and out of the NFL for a while now.
Dude, I remember that game.
It's terrible.
I remember watching that game, and I was watching it at a friend's house. There was like a bunch of us watching it, and we were rooting for Ohio State, obviously, because like Miami was like the Death Star at that point.
Right.
Like, you know what? Like you're like they just seemed like they ruled the world for those like 3 years. But like I remember the pass, like you saw it and you're like, pass interference. And then it seems like there was such a delay in the call. There was enough a delay that me and a couple of my buddies got up and left the house. Like, okay, we're gonna leave, we're gonna take off. And then someone came out, like, while we were getting our cars, we're like, they call pass interference. It's still going. Come back in. I remember that. Like it was like, what? Are you serious? Like, that's how. But then when I watched the replay, I'm like, it wasn't that big of a delay. Like, in real time, it just must have felt like forever. Like, the game's over. We're leaving. Like, see you later. But yeah, like, that was a great game. I mean, probably one of the greatest games in college football history, but whatever.
Yeah. So I'm looking at USC's history, and let's see. So Ken Pom goes back to 97. Yeah, I'm looking at him too. Goes back to 97. The highest seed they've had since 97 was a 4 seed under Henry Bibby in 2002.
Yeah.
Tim Floyd.
Well, they finished 12th in the Ken Pom rating, so maybe they were undersold.
Yeah, they were probably underseeded, but okay, fine. And then Tim Floyd took him to the tournament 3 out of 4 years. But
although
5 seed, 6
12th would be a 3 seed, so I guess they're not undersold that much.
Right, and and Tim Floyd did what he had to do, which is pay players to show up. So good for him. And then Kevin O'Neill took him to a first four, and that was it. And then Andy Enfield's taken him to the tournament twice. Highest Ken Palm ranking is 49 after 7 years. So
Kevin O'Neill, fascinating college coach career.
Yeah. What an asshole.
That dude coached a major program somehow in 4, 5, 9 different seasons.
Yeah.
Including 1, 2,
1 year.
3, 4, 5 losing seasons. A couple, a 6-win season and a 5-win season.
Right. So Tennessee, Northwestern, and then he went to the NBA.
This is only what KenPom has too.
Yeah.
Like he may have coached.
I'm sure he was at Tennessee more than 1 year. So, but Tennessee in 97, Northwestern 98, 99.
Did he
2000.
take over after Lute Olson retired for that one? Like
He did.
1 year?
He did.
Yeah.
He was the interim guy and then took over for a year, and then got fired.
Sam the Eagle.
And yeah. He does look like Sam the Eagle. And then, ran USC into the ground because he's an abrasive prick. And
Okay, so he was head coach at Marquette for 5 years.
that's right.
Took them to took him to a Sweet 16, parlayed that into Tennessee where he coached for 3 years. Didn't have a winning record in any of the seasons. Although did go to an NIT, then coached for 3 years at Northwestern, Northwestern, which at the time never reached a NCAA tournament. Wasn't there a team this year that's never reached an NCAA tournament that was going to?
Possibly.
I feel like there was one, and they
don't
kept
know.
talking about it.
Northwestern was on that list until a couple of years ago.
Yeah. I remember that bit. I think they might have been the last Power 5 or something.
Yeah.
But I remember them, there was talk of a team all year that was like, oh, they're going to break the streak, but then it didn't happen. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I don't know. But yeah, this is a fascinating career because after Northwestern, after he went 5-25 and 0-16 in Big 12 play or Big 10 play, sorry, these are Paul Wolfian conference record at Northwestern 9-39, 9-39,
Right.
dude. That is, I think Ernie Kent laughs at that.
Well, what's wild is, okay, so he's the coach at Marquette for a couple of years, or for a few, like 5 years, and isn't, all that great. I mean, he's okay.
If you get tournament success, that's what.
Right? And
That's what'll get
so
you,
his last year at Marquette was really good. 24-9, 10-2 in conference. Took him to a Sweet 16.
So yeah.
Okay. So then he goes to Tennessee for a few years and is pretty middling there. Ends up at Northwestern and actually abjectly sucks at Northwestern.
Just awful.
And then, like I said, I think at that point he goes to the NBA. Ends up coaching Toronto for a year eventually. In 2003 2004, wins 33 games. Ends up as an assistant at Arizona with Lute Olson. Ends up taking over for Lute Olson when he has his health problems. Ends up getting booted out by Lute Olson when Lute Olson comes back, if I remember right. Ends up at USC.
What the hell was USC think? I don't. I don't remember. I remember
USC
following
is
it.
such a train wreck.
I remember following it in real time, but I don't remember why did they hire Kevin O'Neill? That's just nuts.
I think he was seen as like a calming influence, like a steady hand.
Because they were just coming off of
the Tim
violations
Floyd disaster.
and yeah,
Right. Tim Floyd was, paying guys, and OJ Mayo and
OJ
whatever.
Mayo.
Right.
OJ's guilty.
That's right. So yeah, and then he predictably ran that train into the ground and got fired halfway through a season, his 4th season there. And but I will say I do enjoy him when they used to have him on the Pac-12 network halftime shows, and he was like, and I was like, I like you, grumpy old man.
He was super grumpy old man. It was very funny.
He's like,
and very
they don't
full on.
play any defense.
Full on Sam the Eagle at that
Totally,
point.
totally. Yeah. But he's a kind of, honestly, he's a guy who I kind of thought like might end up in Pullman eventually because, and not because of anything other than he really is able to, like coach defense and kind of do things the way we think, you pretty much have to win in Pullman. So, there was a part of that.
Yeah, he has generally had good defenses,
Really
including
good defenses.
the number one defense in for adjusted defensive efficiency in 2010. That offense, though.
Yeah.
Have you that is some Dick Bennett WSU-esque stuff.
Yes,
number one defense and 86.1, dude. That is one of the best of all time adjusted defenses.
Yeah.
Like if you look back, 86.1 is super low.
It's crazy. That's right up there with like that Texas
Tech a couple years ago. Yeah. That's nuts low. Like I don't think Tony Bennett has ever reached that.
But then you pair it
mountaintop.
with the 267th offense. Oh
my gosh.
But, yeah.
Lost twice to the Cougs that year. Was that Klay Thompson? No, that was Klay Thompson's sophomore year.
Yeah, it was. But the point of the story is USC
beat
is
Ken
never
Pone.
as good as we think it should be. So
they really
because
are.
they don't care. They don't actually care about basketball down there. They really don't.
No, they don't.
Like all they really care about is football
and how's that gone recently?
They build that nice arena and nobody actually cares.
God, I wish we had that arena.
No kidding, right?
Wish we had that money.
So good for Enfield. I don't know. I guess I don't think he's on the hot seat there because
he shouldn't be.
Nobody actually really cares, but
like we've just expressed, he's done as well as anyone there.
Right.
So, and he doesn't seem to be playing Dunk City anymore. But even though he has like dudes now,
yeah. I don't know what his recruits are who are coming in though, because he's going to lose his best player, and then his two other best players were seniors. So
I think he's had a couple years where he's lost his, but I think they've had a couple one and dones. And then Rakocevic was a senior. Matthews was a senior.
Yep.
I feel like I don't know that like the Sturdivant dude has really bad numbers, but he seemed pretty good to me. Like it's like there was something there. But yeah, I don't know. Look at this name, Max Ag Bonk Polo. Ag Bonk Polo.
That's
what
amazing.
a last name. Probably pronounced it correctly too.
All right, so coming in next year, they've got
is
two
Isaiah
four-star
Mobley
kids.
is Isaiah Mobley related to Catino Mobley?
I don't know, but that'd be funny if he was.
That's just who I think when I see the name Mobley.
So USC's got two more top.
Oh shit!
100.
Isaiah Mobley was a 5-star recruit last year, so he's probably going to be pretty good.
So right now,
welcome to USC basketball talk.
Right now, okay, this can't be right.
Podcast versus everyone.
Right now, it says USC's national rank for the 2021. Oh, we're on 2021 recruiting class. They've got the number one 2021 recruiting class right now, but obviously there's time for that to change.
Well, that's the thing about them is they, obviously in football and basketball, like they sign amazing classes a lot.
Yeah,
like,
so 2020, let's look at 2020, sorry. So 2020 class, they've got another Mobley coming in, Evan Mobley.
Evan Mobley's his little brother.
Holy shit, 5-star kid, number 3 overall recruit. That's pretty good.
Yeah, and Isaiah Mobley was a 5-star, number 23 overall recruit. So.
Damn.
Why aren't they good?
They must have gotten like their uncle or something to be an assistant coach.
Enfield's recruiting.
Okay, hold on. I got to look at this because goodness knows you don't sign guys like that. Hold on. All right, so Isaiah Mobley. Oh, wait, would you look at that? Eric Mobley is in his second season as an assistant coach.
Holy shit, dude. Good find, Jeff. Good
Boy,
find.
that is so weird.
So
Eric
strange.
Mobley is in his second season. He was added to the position by Andy Enfield on March 24th, 2018. "We are excited to add Eric to our coaching staff," said Enfield at the time of the signing. "He brings to our program a wealth of playing and coaching experience at a variety of levels.
He brings
He's
to our
an
program
outstanding coach and a terrific person."
He brings to our program 2 5-star sons.
Yeah, you're not going to believe this, but Mobley, 51, coached various AAU programs during the previous 11 years, coaching the AAU Compton Magic 1600 team the 3 years before joining USC. That's amazing. Let's look down here. Oh, he and Nickel are the parents of sons Isaiah and Evan. Isaiah is a freshman on USC's team this season. The Mobleys also serve as foster parents for 5 years to teens who are now adults. Okay, I can't make fun of that. But they are also currently
nice
serving
people.
as a host family for a Chinese student, Johnny, who is going to high school here in the States. What a
They're
heartwarming
nice people.
story.
Dude, Evan Mobley's 7 foot.
Can you believe that? This is like when the Porters were coming to UW. And then
they didn't.
And then they didn't, and their dad got hired at Missouri, and then magically they went to Missouri. That's amazing. Oh my God! And look, listen, I'm not
college basketball recruiting is on another level.
I'm not
it's
hating
just
on
a whole
this.
different
I'm
thing.
like, whatever, dude. You go get it. I don't care. Like, you go for it. But also, let's acknowledge what the game is, right?
Right. How long have we talked about USC basketball just now? Like 20 minutes?
I don't know. We could talk about how Tracy Ford's brother only coached at Division III programs and then magically got hired as the offensive quality control assistant after being a defensive coordinator at UPS.
For
And if we want to talk about how families get involved with recruiting.
well, I wanted to set you up. So where did he get hired, Jeff?
He got hired at the University of Washington.
Ah, yes.
Huh.
I'm sure because of his coaching acumen.
Oh, I'm sure he is an offensive genius despite having not coached offense recently.
Wait, so who is his brother again? Who is this Tracy Ford?
Tracy Ford runs a high-level high school athletic development program in Western Washington. And he notably spent the last 2 years complaining about how Mike Leach did not recruit in the state, which translated meant was not recruiting his guys who got Big Sky offers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My Big Sky guys need to sign with WSU to make me look better.
Really missing out. Really missing out. Missing the boat.
Need to bring back Wolf.
Yeah. The one that got away. Like, what was that basketball player who went to Cal? Remember that? The one that got away?
Oh, my God.
I can't
What
remember
year was
his
that?
name. I don't know. It's like 10 years ago.
If I see his name, I'll remember. He literally that was such a meme on Kook Center.
Oh my gosh!
Like we had the one that got away acronym that we would just use.
Yeah, Totka.
Let's see. Let's go to Cal. That was Bone Era, right?
Yeah.
Emerson Murray.
Yeah,
Emerson Murray.
Emerson Murray, the one that got away.
Top two
Top
for
two.
sure.
Top two for sure.
So top two.
So we better tell the backstory.
All right. So
quickly though.
Okay, so Emerson Murray was a recruit apparently that WSU was looking at.
Yeah, he's Canadian.
He's Canadian from Vancouver. He ended up signing with Cal, and some person decided to
who may or may not have been actually related to him. God, I wish I could find that. He probably didn't even I'm gonna search on our site for Emerson Murray and just see if it comes up. But I just so I could read it because it's art. It's found art. What do you say? Found art. Yeah.
It's found art. It's one of the great. Okay, so I did a top 10 Kook Center moments about it, which is a meme in itself.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Right. Long time.
Most
Kook Center readers will
in
understand
that I found it. Okay, I can found it. I found it. All right. Brian Hirsch, the legendary Brian Hirsch, talent evaluator.
Yeah.
Fan post entitled "The One That Got Away."
The one that got away. I can't believe you found this. That's amazing.
Cougs lose one of the best from 2010. Every exclamation point, of course. Sleeping at the switch.
Sleep at the switch.
Emerson Murray, one of the best combo guards in the class of 2010, goes to Cal State.
That's right. Good job, Canada.
Cal State. Maybe he's a Stanford fan and is just throwing shade. I don't know.
It's possible.
I would rate him top 2. Just top 2 of what? Nobody knows.
Nobody knows, but top
Nobody
2 for
knows.
sure.
Top 2 of players named Emerson that go to his high school. I don't know. Like we're not aware, but honestly, he is rated top 2. He combines a great personality with athleticism and game that is unparalleled. That is, and then there's two spaces for some reason, unparalleled at his level. It is electrifying to think how he will blossom with the proper coaching. These are all sentences that are like one line each. That, and with some, 2 spaces, great talent, 2 spaces, with the ability to anticipate the play. That is it. That is all. 28 comments, which is probably a fan post record, honestly. Honestly. And this just became. Oh my God! This just became a years long meme. But anyways, so
I don't
Emerson
know if you're
Murray.
like me, but don't you miss the days when actually we had Coug Center memes? Like when we actually, like when everything was active enough that we actually we came up with these inside jokes.
Yeah,
We
I
don't
would rate
have
it
nearly
top.
as many inside
Honestly,
jokes anymore.
I would rate those days top 2, Jeff. I would rate them top 2.
I saw that joke. I saw that joke coming, and it was still funny.
So he went to Cal.
He went to Cal. Do you know where he transferred to?
Yeah, I know. I'm looking at
transferred
it.
to
Dude.
Seattle U.
And he was never good.
And he was bad.
I mean, no disrespect to Emerson
No
Murray.
disrespect at all.
You just have to it's Brian Hirsch's fault, man.
He didn't even make it to his senior year.
No, he did. He
didn't.
Oh no, you're right. He transferred. Wait, he has 2 junior years at Seattle U.
Wait, what? Okay, hold
Well,
on. Hold on.
it's
now I'm
listed
looking.
as no. He did. He played 4 years. I think that's an error on
It
KenPom's site.
might be. It might be.
No, he just barely played his senior
Although
year.
he
He played a lot, and it was just terrible. I'm sorry. He played a lot.
played a lot.
And just no one gave him the ball.
very
No,
bad.
listen. So his first year at Seattle U, he was 22% possession, and then the next year he was 11%. You
And
don't
his
see that.
efficiency dropped.
You just don't see either of those things.
His
I
minutes
don't
went
know.
up, his possessions went down, his efficiency went down. That's pretty
So
awful.
he was like a spark plug off the bench when he was a junior, and
Well-
then you're a starter now, and he just apparently got to the free throw line a bunch, but that was it.
Well, when your turnover rate is 38% as a guard,
That's amazing. He had a 11%, 10.9% possessions, and a 37 turnover rate. And then he had a 67 free throw rate. Almost all of his possessions were a turnover or a free
turnovers
throw.
or free throws.
This is like
He played 2/3 of the minutes, and he only took
62
shots.
72 shots
62
and 42
shots.
free throws. He took 62 shots and 42
42
free
free
throws.
throws.
And he played a lot.
He played 77% of the minutes in conference.
This is
play.
amazing. Like, that is such an incredibly
wait.
low.
Wait.
and-
Hold on. He played 77% of the minutes in conference play. So that's, I mean, if he played in every game, which he probably did, and then that would be roughly 30 minutes a night, and he took 29 shots the entire conference season.
30 minutes a night.
30 minutes a
So,
night. 29
14
shots.
games, 14 games, 30 minutes a night.
Oh my gosh.
10 times 30 is 300, 4 times 30, 120, 420 minutes. In 420 minutes, he took 29 shots. We could break it down further into what their their possessions was that year, but I don't want to. But like, there so many possessions where he literally did nothing.
The one that got away, Craig. The one that got away.
Oh my gosh! I have rarely seen a player with this high of a minute percentage with this low of a usage.
Yeah,
and this low of a shot percentage, dude. Like the shot percentage is amazing. Like 6%.
6%. 6%. You're on the floor for 2/3 of the minutes, and you're taking shots on 6% of the possessions.
Man. The Seattle team was not good if you didn't realize.
Way. That's amazing.
Well, they had a winning record though. They had a winning record, but this was that old the reinvigorated whack when there's just a lot of really bad teams.
Yeah.
There was New Mexico State. Well, it's pretty much like that now. With New Mexico State and a bunch of garbage.
Grand Canyon.
Well, Grand Canyon's a program, you know.
Ooh.
Well, they were with Dan Marley.
Until they fired Dan Marley.
Idiots.
Whatever.
But yeah, Thunder Dan. But man, Emerson Murray, what a callback. The one that got away.
The one that got away.
Ken Bone probably can't sleep still.
Yeah. Down in Pepperdine. Living in Malibu, going, man, if only I'd landed Emerson Murray.
Man, you know, of all the places to just land as an assistant coach, Pepperdine is a pretty good place.
That is not a bad place at all. And, Curtis
Ken
Allen.
Bone is
Curtis
still
Allen
plenty
got out at the right time, too. You know?
Yeah.
So good for him.
And Ken Bone isn't even the most famous Ken Bone at this point.
It's true.
It's the guy in the red sweater.
That's an incredible callback right there. Man, we are just all about the callbacks tonight.
Oh my God. Hey, what have you been drinking tonight? A lot, obviously. A lot.
That's a hell of a transition. What I am currently drinking is the Belching Beaver Deftones Phantom Bride IPA, which I think I've talked about on the podcast before. Is one of my favorites when I can find it.
You just love them Deftones.
Yeah, and the can is fantastic. There's like a beaver skull on it, and
holy shit, dude! I'm just reading my post on this. I did like an FJM takedown of a different one of Brian Hirsch's post of a different. Apparently, oh my God. But he wrote more than one post, apparently.
Yeah.
Or maybe I just, oh my God. Sleeping at the switch.
Don't you love it when you go back and you find stuff that you wrote and you're like, I don't remember writing that at all.
Oh, I don't remember writing this at all. I remember getting top 10 Coug Center moments. I think I got to 6. And one of them I just linked. One of them I was just an asshole and just linked to the post that I wrote. Like I posted it and then immediately went back and linked to the same post. And so it was just like a cycle. Like the top 6 Cougar moment is this post right here. Like it's just like a cycle. I was very clever back in the day.
That's right.
You're
still pretty clever.
I just don't use it. It's just saw his final 2 games this year, and the coaching at St. George's was pathetic. Talk about a class act. He puts his arm around their coach and thanked him. So, So I can't believe. So this is my writing. I can't believe they could rob such a great personality of the MVP. Okay, so the hotter the competition, the better he plays. Plus, he was robbed of the MVP. It was the first time in the history of the tournament that the winning team didn't DIDIN 'T have the MVP politics. You say MVP and I say the hotter the competition. No wonder he wanted to go to California. People are so much more attractive there. What with their tans and all. I can't believe they could rob such a great personality of the MVP award. Also, I'm concerned that Hirsch started having a stroke earlier, and then back to Hirsch, saw his final 2 games, GMEES, this year, and the coaching at St. George's was pathetic. Talk about a class act, put Smart and thanked him, and I say definitely a stroke. Man, I was so funny.
We did some good shit back in the day, man.
When the football team was bad and we had nothing to write about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was the best part, right? Like, that was when we really had no choice but to be clever.
This is pretty funny. The first comment is, we'll take a look at Brian's work FJM style. FJM.
How many people even know what Fire Joe Morgan is at this point?
My most favorite blog of all time.
Yeah.
Fire Joe Morgan. Which turned me into the nerd I am today. Fire Joe Morgan. FJM, so they did a classic, and now famous Michael Schur, who is one of the greatest TV creators of all time,
known for things other than Fire Joe Morgan at this point.
You know, Cousin Moe's
blog,
Cousin Moe's / a writer and I think a showrunner on The Office, the showrunner on Parks and Rec. Created The Good Place. Created Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Just a talented man, but I will always think of him. And Amanda has heard me say 1,000 times, "This is Ken Tremendous." Well, that's still his Twitter, which is great. It's still his Twitter, yeah. But Brian's comment was, "We'll take a look." Brian Floyd says, "We'll take a look at Brian's work, FJM style," in quotes, and he said, "Woo!" I was worried there for a second. Good comment. Miss you, Brian. Comment on the site.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Brian Floyd definitely doesn't listen this far into our podcast, if at all. Whatever, Floyd. People listening to this podcast are like, who's Brian Floyd? They don't know.
They probably don't.
I'm sure
the people
they don't.
the people that are listening right now definitely do.
My favorite
definitely do.
Maybe. My favorite is when Brian drops in like once a year for like a column or something on Cougar
Writes
football.
the most popular column on the site, and you're like, you son of a bitch.
5,000 views, and it's like, God damn
in like
you,
a
Brian.
second. 5,000 views is not a lot for us, by the way. Shut up.
Yeah, it's true. In one day, though.
That'd
be pretty good for a day.
I do remember that Cougs drank the bar dry Auburn post that I did.
Oh yeah.
Had like 98,000 views in like 6 hours or something. It was nuts. That was nuts. Nothing I've ever written. I've written to 10,000 things, and like that's nothing I've ever written will ever be read more than that.
No, and do you remember when like we were at the Apple Cup in, I don't know, whatever it was, whatever the last time was, we went to the Apple Cup in Seattle. And we were like sitting in the parking lot drinking beer and like looking at the real time
2015.
Looking at the real time analytics for all the like people coming to the site looking at our Apple Cup stuff. Look at that! Look at that! We don't do that anymore.
Yeah, we just don't care.
We're just old now.
We just write whatever we want to write.
Like whatever. We do whatever we want. Like this shitty podcast.
Man, this particular episode is
this
pretty
particular
shitty.
Podcast is pretty shitty.
This is a pretty shitty episode.
There's nothing to talk about, man. This is terrible.
Yeah, June 15th, we're gonna work out again. We're gonna lift some weights. Okay,
we'll do a live podcast on people working out.
Yeah, we'll ask WSU if we can just be in the weight room 6 feet away with masks on, talking with their microphones.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And
I'm sure they'll be doing that. Although we should drive over. We should drive over to Pullman, man. The Cougs open. They're in phase 2.
That'd be sick.
We could do that.
That's a good idea.
I don't know. Preston probably wants a haircut.
I need a haircut, dude.
I do.
I know
too.
you do.
I swear. I every day I'm like thinking I'm just gonna shave it. I'm gonna fucking shave it,
dude. I have to do these LinkedIn lives every Wednesday for work.
Yeah,
like I'm hosting like a live video show, and every week it's harder and harder and I do them at 8 a.m. our time, so you know, like I have to like get up and shower and like do all that, which I don't normally do because I work from home, and I've always worked from home. I do not shower or do anything before I wake up and start working. I just start working, but I have to like get up and I shower and I comb my hair, and I have to every week I have to put more and more product in it to tame it. because it's longer and longer. And so I desperately need a haircut. Although it has turned into a running joke on the live series, so at least I have that.
There you go. I don't know. If I shave it, I can wear hats for months. I don't have to.
Dude, that's what when I do let my hair get this long, like sometimes, but I always just wear hats. But I can't wear a hat on that thing, and so, I'm wearing a hat right now. I got my my new Rainiers hat in WSU Crimson and Gray. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good hat.
Hey, we should talk about hats for just a second. Because our mutual friend.
Well, yeah, that's what I was obviously getting into.
Yeah.
With
Dave
my new
Clark.
hat. Yep.
Dave Clark with the...
Who wants to be on the podcast, Jeff? Let him be on the podcast.
We need to do that.
We should have had him on this episode. I don't think we had anything to talk about.
That'd be hilarious.
Dave loves beer.
Yeah, he does love beer. He also loves things like soccer. And
he also worked in beer. So
Dungeons and Dragons. Like, he loves all
He
kinds
really
of
loves
stuff.
D&D.
Yes, he does.
Probably more than soccer. Definitely more than soccer.
My teenager decided, like, he saw it on a YouTube video or something, D&D thing, and he comes down and he's like, Dad, have you ever heard of Dungeons and Dragons?
Oh my God, dude.
And I'm
Josh
like,
is definitely going to be
right.
fast forward 6 months. Like,
And I go,
you're going to be buying these books, dude.
I know. I
like
said,
these
yes,
books.
I heard of Dungeons and Dragons. And he's like, oh, like, that sounds really interesting. And I'm like, oh my
I can't believe Josh hasn't found this yet.
Oh, shit. So, like,
Oh, sorry, I'm doxing your kid, but
right?
whatever.
Like, so that's all right. So I send a message to Dave, and I'm like, hey, so my teenager decided he thinks Dungeons and Dragons are interesting. Where do I start? And so he said, here's a book that a guy wrote about Dungeons and Dragons that kind of introduces them to the worlds and the people and whatever. And I'm like, okay, great. So I bought that for him. And
Dude, he's going to love it, dude.
I know I'm going to be stuck like doing Dungeons and Dragons with my kid. I don't know. My mom thought it was satanistic, so I don't know anything.
He'll be
about
for it. Good. I mean, he'll make friends.
I'm sure he will. That's totally his tribe. Like, it's he's just such a nerd like that, and he'll love it. And he loves those kind of fantasy worlds, and so he'll be good. It's just, it cracks me up. So anyway, so Dave Clark loves Dungeons and Dragons, and Dave was like, Dungeons and Dragons are great. Like, you can, it's all about, like, teaming up with diverse people to accomplish a goal, and he started like naming movies and TV shows and Princess Bride and Stranger Things, and I'm like, there we go. So
Community.
Yeah.
Did he name Community?
I'm not sure if he did. I can't remember all the ones he named. Might have
I
been.
love the D&D episodes of Community. They're great episodes.
Yeah. So anyway, hey, if you are if you are in the Tacoma,
My sister
area,
is really into D&D, by the way. So.
That's cool. Might have to draw on her as a resource. But anyway, about the hats. About the hats. If you're in the Tacoma area, the Rainiers / Tacoma Defiance are donating $5 from every hat sale to, what is it, meals, right? Meals for frontline workers or something like that. Yes?
Yeah.
No? Yes. Okay, good. I'm remembering correctly.
Or maybe it was to service work. I can't remember.
Yeah, it was something like that.
Food
Anyway,
service workers.
So $5 to people who deserve it. And so if you're interested in a hat, they have all kinds of pretty awesome hats.
So, like, if you're thinking of buying the hat, like, it's $5 goes to something good.
Yeah.
So just
I'm waiting for the June paycheck. So, and then I'll be.
Amanda and I sat after a few beers on, like, I think it was Saturday night, and I was like, oh, they're donating to something. And so I went on, I bought the 90s Tacoma Rainiers hat with, like, the mountain on it, and, like, it's spelled out. And,
yeah, it's a good
and then I bought the Coug colored Rainiers hat, and then she got just like a 47 brand, like, adjustable hat. So $15 out of the dollars that we spent to somebody already. And nice, because I live in Tacoma. You dig what?
I dig the trucker hats. So I think that's where I'm gonna.
Yeah, and the great thing, dude, I mean, I go to a lot of games, and there's a lot of really good. There's some really good. My favorite one of my favorite hats is a Defiance hat. It's just TAC, big letters. It's a black hat.
Yeah,
Says
that's
Defiance
a great hat.
on the
You
back
love wearing
and
that
tag.
one a lot.
Yeah, I love that hat. I already had that one, obviously, so I didn't buy it. But I am tempted. I love the Defiance logo. Like they did a great job with the branding. I've been wanting to buy the one that just has the logo on it, but I have so many fucking hats. I have so many New Era 5950 hats. Like it's ridiculous.
There's some really great ones though. Like the ones that say like Defiantly Tacoma. Like those are pretty great.
Oh yeah, really cool. There's a lot of It's cool because of the Defiance have that relationship with the Rainiers.
Right.
You get a lot better merchandise, I think, because they're with like an MILB team, so they get like the nicer hat brands.
Yeah,
so
they
get
got the
New Era and the
50 stuff,
the 47 brand hats, the 3930 New Era hats, like all the the trucker hats, whatever.
Right.
Like so, they have some great gear, which has made it fun. I really miss it, man. I miss going to Cheney Stadium, dude. I saw my my Facebook
the
memories.
Unlimited beer.
Yes. My Facebook memories popped up yesterday for last year's Memorial Day. I took B to a rain match, and we did have unlimited beer. It was just Coors Light for that one. It was like a Memorial Day special, but still, whatever. I'm not gonna it was really hot. I'll chug Coors Lights all day. It was fine, but I had my daughter, so I wasn't chugging them that frequently. But I saw that and like, man, I miss sporting events. I love taking B last summer to rain matches, Sounders matches, Defiance matches, Rainiers, Mariners, and then we just haven't been able to do that. And it sucks. And I want that part of my life back, Jeff. I want it back.
I know. The closest we get is soccer halfway around the world at 6:30 a.m.
It's pretty fun, man.
It is pretty fun.
We've done a good job with that. I think I'm gonna watch it with my dad on Sunday, but I'm gonna try to Zoom you guys in, and we'll you can watch it with me and my dad. If we get back on the winning track,
dude, they're playing Paderborn.
Yeah,
they might
be
drop
okay.
6 or 7 goals on them.
That's what I want, baby.
Yeah.
Let's just secure that Champions League bid that we deserve, and that is ours, and then we get to watch Champions League next year, and that's the best.
That's awesome.
Like this last year, friggin' FC Barcelona went to Dortmund, because they played them in the group stage, so they went to Dortmund and they went to Camp Nou, that's freaking nuts, dude. I think they tied in that match, but that must I can't even imagine the atmosphere for that with Lionel Messi is in Dortmund Stadium, nuts.
Yep.
Champions League is a great thing.
Wish we had something like that here.
Well, we
really.
do.
I mean, kind of.
The CONCACAF Champions League, which we do get some cool ass Mexican teams and stuff a lot.
We
but
do. Dudes we've never heard of running circles around us on the field. So
beating us, knocking us out of the first round of the CONCACAF
Oh no,
Champions
that
League.
wasn't even a Mexican team. That was a
Mexican team.
Honduran
I know. I was trying to oversell them. Shut up, Jeff. Although I will say there was some Honduran fans in the crowd, and it was pretty fun watching them enjoy that.
I'll bet they were having,
especially in retrospect that the tournament wouldn't have been played anyway. So
it's sorry. Tournament's not finishing. You're out of luck.
You enjoyed that way more than I would have, so yeah. All right.
If they had won and then the tournament got canceled, we'd be like, oh man, what could have been, and now we're just like, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. Okay.
We're gonna win the Club World Cup.
That's right.
That was the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Whatever. I don't know. I think it's probably about time to wrap this thing up.
No, it's way past time to wrap this thing up. Are you kidding me?
If you're still listening, we're at
an hour and a half, and I would say we're at least an hour and 10 minutes too long. At least.
Yep. If you're somehow still listening and not subscribed, just subscribe.
Yeah.
And
Go
if
ahead
you're
and
somehow
subscribe.
still listening and you have not rated us 5 stars, you must really like this. If
Yeah.
you went 90 minutes into this, rate us 5 stars. Give us
Please.
a comment.
Please.
You know, BVB till you die or whatever. You know.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm the Craig Powers on Twitter. You're Pod versus everyone.
That's me. Mostly.
Yeah, it pretty much all of it at this point. I'm not touching that thing anymore.
You still got the password though.
I do. I get all the
You
notifications.
could jump in there.
I could ruin your life.
You could. That's true.
Hi, this is Jeff Nusser.
And I'm about to say something very controversial.
Yeah. Well, I'll keep that in mind if you piss me off, Jeff.
Go Cougs, Craig.
Go Cougs.